right, well, we're going to go ahead and get started. Thank you all for joining us today. Today we're going to do part 2 of our 3-part heat illness presentation. I'm Jim Brewer, and this is Rooftop Safety USA Tuesday Tech Training. So again, thanks for attending. In part 1, we define the different types of heat illness and discuss treatments. In part 2, we will look at ways that you can prevent heat illness. And then next week in part 3, we'll discuss your heat plan. So, preventing heat illness, we've got to understand some factors that play into causing heat illness in the first place. And clearly the environment and the weather is a factor. Heat is a big component of that. Humidity also plays into that. When we look at the heat index, you'll see how heat and humidity combine to make conditions better or worse. And then wind is also a factor. Just think of how you feel, on a hot day when all of a sudden a breeze picks up. You feel good, and that's because the breeze or the wind is helping your body cool off. It's letting the sweat evaporate off of your body quicker. The workload that you are doing is a factor. The more you're working, the more you're generating heat, taxing your body. And then your level of personal conditioning is a factor as well. Okay. Obviously, the higher the temperature, the more likelihood there is of heat illness. And remember, your body normal temperature is about 98.6. And above this temperature, above body temperature, your body starts to lose its ability to cool through skin radiation. Remember in part 1, we talked about plan A, that dilation of blood vessels brings the heat to the skin where it radiates out to the atmosphere. Well, if the atmosphere is warmer than your body, that doesn't work too well. So we need to plan to prevent heat illness at any time the temperature is going to be above 80 degrees outdoors. And also consider the radiant heat effect from the work and the equipment. For example, heat radiating off of a dark roof, that's a factor. If you're working around any equipment that's producing heat, that's a factor. And humidity is a factor. Higher the humidity, the less effective plan B is. Remember, in plan B is where the body produces sweat and cools the body as the sweat evaporates off your skin. Well, when the humidity increases, that doesn't work as well. So the higher the humidity, the higher the heat index, and the more heat you're going to feel on your body. And this shows the heat index, and you can see it uses the ambient air temperature and the relative humidity to combine to produce the apparent heat index. And it's color coded. The red is the extreme danger, the orange is danger, and then the yellow and darker yellow are caution and extreme caution. And so you should consider this anytime that you're working and the temperature is above 80 degrees. Look at it and then plan for it. And they have different planning levels based on the heat index. So, wind and airflow helps cool the body. We've already mentioned that, but consider how you feel when the breeze kicks up. You feel that instant cooling effect as the sweat evaporates off your body. Or if you move in front of a fan, you feel that cooling effect. High altitudes and dry climates are a factor. At either of those circumstances where the air is drier, you need to hydrate more than you would normally because it's just pulling moisture away from you. So remember, high altitudes or dry climates increase your hydration. And the real key to preventing heat illness is hydrating. And the hotter it is, the more you need. Drink water even if you aren't thirsty, and drinking small amounts frequently is better than, guzzling a gallon, every now and then, particularly when you get thirsty. Don't wait until you get thirsty. A good guideline is about 6 ounces of water every 15 or 20 minutes. And, if you like the sports drink, Gatorade or similar products, you can mix those in, but we don't recommend going straight sports drink. But alternating water and sports drink is a good thing. And you need to plan for hydration. If you're sending crews out to a work site, it would be advisable to have at least 2 gallons per day per technician. Clean, pure, and cool water is best. And try to plan your hydration, start early, start in the morning as soon as you get up, or even the day before if you know you're going to be spending a lot of time in the heat. Avoid caffeine and alcohol. They do not help with hydration. Avoid caffeine and alcohol. And sorry to get personal here, but let's talk about your pee for a minute. If you aren't peeing, that's a big sign that you need to hydrate more. And also consider the color. The darker that your pee is, the more you need to drink. So watch for that as a sign. Here's kind of like a color chart for your pee. And you can see in the darker, yellow tints that it shows or indicates that you're dehydrated. So watch for that. And, just remember, again, if you're not having to take pee breaks, you're not hydrating. And that's something, maybe even supervisors should be kind of monitoring. If a guy's up on the roof all day and not taking breaks, that's kind of a danger signal. Watch out for that. Monitor the workload and the type of work that is going on, the level of physical activity. Exertion increases the potential for heat illness, and the duration of the work. Plan your rest breaks and your water breaks. The hotter it is, the more frequent those breaks need to be. In part 3, we'll give some guidelines for that. Consider where the work is being done. On dark roofs where you've got a lot of heat radiating up off the roof is a problem. Also consider attics and chases. If you're working in the attic, preparing to install a chimney through the roof, and you got to spend some time in there cutting and reframing and so forth. That's going to put a big load on your body. If you're spending any time in an enclosed chimney chase, there's not much ventilation in there. You need to be monitoring your workers. In any time you've got workers in these areas, it's good to have more than one person on the truck or on the work crew so they can monitor each other. And you know, somebody's been up in the attic for an hour or so on a hot day and nobody's heard from him, we better be checking on them. We need to be constantly communicating. Don't wait until somebody thinks, hey, where's Joe? We haven't heard from him in a while, because it might be too late. Work hours. Avoid the hottest part of the day, which is usually mid to late afternoon, 2 or 3 o'clock up until 5 or 6 o'clock in the afternoon is when those temperatures will be the hottest. You know, if you've got a big day outdoors, try and start early and finish a little earlier before the hottest part of the day. If possible, consider, you know, the 5-day forecast when you're scheduling certain tasks. And again, remember to take your rest and water breaks. Consider the clothing that you're wearing. Heavy clothing reduces the body's ability to release heat. Dark clothing absorbs heat, while light colors help reflect heat. And PPE, your personal protective gear, it's certainly necessary, but it can increase the potential for heat illness. Tyvek suits or coveralls, goggles, respirators, face shields, hard hats or climbing helmets, all of that somewhat slows down your body's ability to shed heat, to release heat. So you need to plan for it. If you're working in a hot area with a lot of protective clothing on, you need to factor that into your hydration planning, your rest breaks, your work activity planning. Individual factors are a concern as well. Are you acclimated to the heat? Remember, when the heat first starts, you know, in the summer, it takes us a week or more to acclimate to the heat, where your body gets somewhat conditioned and used to the heat. I know the first few times in the summer that I'm out in the heat, I'm like, ooh, man, this is tough. But as you know, the summer goes on, you get acclimated to it and it's easier. You know, your level of physical conditioning and physical fitness are factors, and weight and, you know, body mass index is a factor. Fat tissue releases or reduces your body's ability to release heat, and carrying that extra weight also increases, you know, the physical exertion activity. You know, it's much harder for a big guy to climb a ladder and work on the roof than it is for a little guy. So BMI or body mass index is a factor. And age, unfortunately, is a factor as well. I know from personal standpoint, as I've gotten older, the heat seems tougher to deal with. But it's, you know, it's known that age reduces your body's thermoregulation response. Other individual factors include getting plenty of sleep and eating right. Try and avoid large, heavy meals, particularly at lunchtime. light meals or snacks during your rest breaks throughout the day are better than, you know, taking a big carb load lunch and chowing down. That's going to make the afternoon somewhat difficult. Monitor your workers if you're working with a team or with a crew. Monitor everybody's level of activity, ensure they're taking rest and water breaks. What's their appearance? Do they look like they're struggling in the heat? Are they still sweating, or is their skin dry and red? What's their mental sharpness like? Are they getting confused? Are they getting sloppy with their work? And during rest breaks, you know, monitor heart rate and temperature. If either of those are above 100, that's a sign that more rest is necessary before they get back to work. Consider active cooling processes. Some simple things you can do, like keeping a bucket with some ice and cool towels or washcloths, neck wraps, head wraps, putting a cool towel around your neck. Man, that's great on a hot day. Mist fans, so you get a breeze and a little bit of moisture. Those are awesome. Providing shade tents for the workers to take rest breaks in are great. Ice packs, and these can be simple, you know, just some Ziploc baggies and ice out of the cooler around your neck. Armpits are also good. And then there's lots of things now coming about that you can see at safety supply companies for working in the heat. Cooling vests, which is a vest that you put on and it has water in it. Sleeves, caps, you moisten them, and they help your body cool and stay cool. They're pretty interesting. So a lot of new stuff like that coming around. Don't forget sunscreen and hats. Sunscreen is important. You know, if you're, you know, a lifetime of work in the sun can definitely have an effect, and can lead to skin cancers, which are aggravating and can be dangerous. So don't forget the sunscreen. It's very important. A nice hat with a brim to keep the sun off your face. And then lightweight, long clothing, long sleeve shirts and pants, but a nice lightweight material is great on a hot day to protect you from the sun. You know, the sun's rays, I'm sure you've all heard about, you know, problems with skin cancer and things like that. Here's some tips about protecting yourself from the sun. You know, and some people are more susceptible to this than others. Fair skin, light skin, people with freckles, blonde or red hair are more likely to be impacted by the sun's rays. And watch out for signs of skin cancer, like nodules and moles. You know, take a look when you're, you know, showering or bathing. Check yourself out and get some expert advice if you have any concerns. But remember, the keys to preventing heat illness are hydration, drink plenty of water, sports drinks, take rest breaks, work in the shade whenever possible. Is it possible to put up a shade tent over the work area? And look out for each other. Monitor your team, look out for your buddies, make sure everybody's staying safe in the heat. So That brings us to the end of part 2. Next week in part 3, we'll discuss your company's heat plan. My contact information is there if I can ever help you. If you have questions, let me know. I love to talk about safety. So I'm going to stop the screen share there and see if there are any questions. So, does anybody have any questions this morning?
Hold on, it's only us.
Hey, Jim.
Hey, John, how are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing well.
Okay, that was pretty good. I enjoyed it. I missed part 1. How do I, is there a way to get that?
Yeah, John, that is on my YouTube channel. Look up Rooftop Safety USA. I'll just send you a link to it here in a minute when we get done. But every week after I do these, I will post them up on my YouTube channel so folks can use them anytime. For company training meetings, toolbox talks, that kind of thing.